It is good to live already like an enlightenment even before reach the full enlightenment, because it is better to live like you want to become as to live wrong lifestyles. More on the why to live like an enlightenment already, you can find in another video. But this video is especially how to arrange the lifestyle similar to an enlightened. Okay, how can we live like an enlightened? If you imagine one, he may look very stoned. He may look high because of the permanent connection with God. Of course, he's joining the divine bliss all the time. And he may be very not high from emotions as people are when they are singing songs for God or when they are praising and these things, and they are pushing themselves up with emotions, positive ones. He's high from the divine drink, which has no drugs, which is not of any substance, of course, and even not from bodily owned drugs. So he's just stoned from nothing. He's in the permanent meditation. That's one aspect we should focus if we also want to become full enlightened. We should stay in permanent meditation. One day it will hold automatically, but until we have not reached the full, we can fall out of the meditation with our consciousness again and again. And to prevent that, it is better to leave everything and to try to stay in the meditation the whole day. When you also consider how an enlightenment behaves besides sitting around like a stone, is to make good deeds, of course. Enlightened are always positive and are always helpful. Even their own presence is a good deed when they are in the same room. That is enough. But when they are doing consciously extra good deeds, like Jesus, then it mostly is part of their movement, because Jesus had the insight to teach love. Every enlightened has a certain topic which he brings new in the world. And Jesus tried to get the people in the enlightenment through love, which is possible, which he could find, and which is pretty good. But until we have not reached the enlightenment, it is for us not the best way to entangle in good deeds all the time. He does it automatically. Besides, wherever he goes or wherever he went, when he was seeing something, he was using his healing power and was healing or helping in any kind. And we can also help when we see something spontaneously. But entanglement in a work or in a institution for care or something, you can do that. If you need money, it is better to work in such an institution instead of a normal job of business or so. But if not necessary and you are not needing money for rent or something, if you can live for free or something, it is not good to entangle in an institution and to work a full-time job or something. I will come to the work aspect later. What is also obviously on an enlightened is that they are happy, but they are not happy caused by any item. Their happiness is not related to anything. It's only coming from God, and it's only coming out of the bliss and the connectedness they have to the divine. Their happiness has nothing to do with any reaction on having a new phone or finding something on the YouTube or whatever people think what happiness is always related to a thing. Or if someone is more developed, someone is understanding what I was saying, that the happiness is there for no reason. And there's not, obviously for no reason. Of course, the reason behind is the connectedness with God. But obviously for no reason this person is happy, and the happiness is coming from within. But if one is not far developed enough, then of course happiness comes when someone is clicking something in the phone, or when someone is meeting a person and only happy when this person is there. It's a surface happiness. It's always related to something. And we have to overcome this and to find the deeper happiness, which comes out from itself. actually, if we go the right way and live like an enlightened, or take an enlightened as role model to create a lifestyle for us. Sometimes enlightened also appear serious or unhappy. They are not appearing always happy, smiling. Sometimes they provide Buddha as doing so, or others, but they are not always all the time looking happy. What happened here? Here, of course, they are serious for certain reasons when they see how the people are and how the world is, and that nobody else or only very few strive for the enlightenment. And even on the path of enlightenment, many go wrong ways, like in a labyrinth, and they are going wrong ways and they don't find the goal. But they are good to go on the path to enlightenment, but there are many right ways, but also wrong ways. That's why in the Bible they said many wrong prophets will appear, many wrong gurus, you can say with other languages also. And of course, disappointment belongs to the human, not to the enlightenment, but I think to a certain part or to a certain point, enlightened are also a bit disappointed about the mankind. And they also know the dark night, because a short time before the enlightenment, a person goes through the dark night of the soul, which has to be, which is not only negative, it appears like a depression, but it is also necessary to go through it to the deepest desert until you reach the top of the mountains. And so when enlightened look unhappy, that has certain reason. And for us also, the dark night may be an essential part, and you don't have to reject it, and you don't have to say, I always want to be happy and I always want to grinning like the Buddha statue. That is not the goal only, because then again, it's a surface happiness, only copying, grinning, and not really being happy. Here it is important when the dark night comes that we have to go through it. There are also extra videos for that on this channel. And what is essential here is that even in this unhappiness, in this melancholy, this depression, we have already more light, because these persons are closer to the enlightenment than all other ones. John of the Cross, the guy who dealt with the dark night, said that even someone in the dark night has more light than the normal Christians, which are praising and singing and always partying for God, but they are only having the positive emotions and they are only having the bodily own drugs. And that appears so delightful, and that appears that in its light, of course, it's positive. But the thing is that it's a limited positivity, because always after having highs, as you know, lows come. It can happen that after the day where you meet many other religious people, then the next day appears more dry and more like a low. And so it is, even the dark night person is not so happy, but because this person is about overcoming all the emotions and overcoming these things, and this person has more light. Even the person himself, herself, is not aware that he or her has more life. They believe they have the lowest light, and they are always looking on the other Christians and thinking, as John of the Cross said, oh, they have so much light and I'm so bad and I'm so depressed, and maybe God doesn't recognize me anymore. And so these thoughts are there, and they are not aware of their own light, but they have more, as he said, and that's a good sign. And so I want to give the encouragement just to continue if you are in that situation. And the dark night already brings us to a more important aspect in living already like an enlightenment. And this comes because I was trying it wrong for several years. I was always trying to copy enlightenment. But this never helped. As you know, many people are copying Jesus and so, and none of them reached the enlightenment. Until I came to the idea that we have to copy an enlightened before he got the enlightenment. So if you are in the dark night, you have now the big advantage, because the enlightened has also been in the dark night before he went in the full enlightenment. If you're not in the dark night, no matter, we will focus several points here. For the dark night, there are many extra videos, but for the basic life, let's focus one thing, which is called devotion. Jesus and all the enlightened are talking about devotion. It's not about devotion that means to making yourself smaller and making others bigger, like a masochistic behavior, that is wrong. It's a very wrong thing, because this is only to self-destroy yourself. But to overcoming the ego, it can make the ego even stronger if you are only try to kill it extra. That's not the way. Right devotion can work in several ways. There are many methods. One is to do everything in love. That means whatever you do, you should do in love. If you can't do that because you have life circumstances which are blocking that, then first you have to arrange your life circumstances. Maybe you have to move to a new apartment in another area, or even you have to change the people who are surrounding you. Often it can happen that other things block our way to the enlightenment. And so we have to arrange, unfortunately, some things. So whatever it is possible to do things in love. Another way is to do everything in the here and now. To be absolutely as best as you can. Being absolutely in the here and now all the time can only an enlightened who has already reached the full goal. But if you are on the path, if we are on the path only, we can't expect to be 100% all the time. Many do so, but this is extra pressure. We should not go on extra pressure. But a way to the enlightenment, one goal, one door, is through the here and now. And so you can live a devotion lifestyle in the here and now. What also brings us to the next point, which already an enlightened lives, but maybe he also lived short time before, and this is being spontaneous and flexible. As I said in all the other lifestyle videos, it is the best to be spontaneous or flexible. That means you have to arrange things so that you are not in time, that you are not under time pressure, that you don't cause extra stress only with a clock or a watch. That must not be, and not only because of the stress level and the healthiness, that's not the point on the channel. The thing is, we should live eternal as possible. A full enlightenment lives already in eternity. And we should have the feeling of the eternal, even if it is not possible, if we live in this world of the 4 dimensions, the 3 material dimensions, and the 4th dimension, which is time. Of course, it's limited. And once in the evening, we have to go to bed, and many things are limited. But as best as possible throughout the day, try to live eternal. Try to not have certain eating times. Try to go with the hunger from the stomach, which is natural. When it wants something to eat, it will tell you. You don't have to force it to eat by clock. The nature doesn't know the clock. Which brings us to the next point, and this is the material, but also the nature. I have made videos about minimalism where I say the same thing, therefore here only in short. The things themselves, they are not bad. We can use things, but minimalism is always better on this path. But the thing is only to not crave after the items. If you are having some items which are necessary and you're using them, it's absolutely okay. But craving after the items, of course, causes suffering. And at the end, it will destroy the meditation, or to stay in a constant meditation when we suffer, when we have negative thoughts of a loss. So it's not good to hang on the things or to crave after the things. That is one aspect of the minimalism. Now it comes to the nature. Nature also is material. Trees, plants, everything is also material, but it's lively. And that's why enlightened have lived in the nature, basically, because they were feeling that it's more lively. Humans live in these walls, in these houses, which are not so lively. Of course, consciousness is everywhere, but the more lively an item, like a tree, or an entity, like an animal or plant is, the more conscious, the more meditation is possible. You can raise your consciousness when you are surrounded by consciousness. But if you're spending time a lot with people, they have actually more consciousness than plants and animals, which is logically. But the thing is, they are always talking about material things and not about enlightenment. And so they entangle your mind, maybe also to wrong things. And they are, of course, sitting in houses or in machines, cars, motorcycles. So the people always live not the perfect way for meditation. That's why the Enlightened from time to time always went in the forest and always went in the nature. And I can recommend that a lot. And they also did it before they were enlightened. And that's why I really recommend to go in the nature as often as you can. In some, you can say that we should adjust everything so that the permanent meditation can go on. And so we can take an enlightened as role model, but he already has the meditation that says all the time and never lose it again. So he can do everything. That's why then mostly they start a movement. And it's not recommended to start any movement or anything to teach others before you have not reached the full enlightenment, because in movement will also be appointments, will also be stress, entanglement, and too less meditation and to lose the own meditation, it says again and again. Only when the goal is reached, it is the best to do so. That's also why I only create such small YouTube videos and I only have my books and only sharing experience with others. Nothing more than that. Meditation always goes first. And as John of the Cross says, whenever the opportunity comes and you feel the bliss, you should just sit. So God sees already that you are ready, that you, from your side, show your devotion. And then it can happen. Because from then on in the dark night, he pulls. First, you give effort in the meditation, and still, even if the dark night comes and lies the cloud over your consciousness and you don't feel the meditation access, but still you can show that you are there and that you are ready, prepared, and in devotion, even if you don't feel any spiritual feeling anymore. That's the trick in the dark night, actually. God must see that you are free for that. And that's why, as I said, no full-time job, no entanglement in a care institution or something. As best as you can, be free, have time for meditation, try to be in a connectedness, or even if not possible in the dark night, still be free, still try devotion, try meditation, just be free for God. Hope this video could help. Have a nice time. See you soon. Bye.